So I was listening to this podcast called The Neuro Side of, what is it called? The Neuro Side of Influence and Leadership. It's by a guy named Rene Rodriguez. He's got a book called Amplify Your Influence. I got a lot out of that book. I actually read it twice in a row. It's one of the few books that I've done that with, but it's awesome. I really suggest you check it out, even if it doesn't sound like a subject that's important to you specifically, but there's a lot of like general life shit that could help build confidence and all this kind of stuff. So definitely worth checking out. But what I wanted to talk about is something that Rene brought up in one of his episodes. I think it was episode 11 on his podcast. And he was talking about this really interesting concept that I haven't thought about for a while. And it's the idea that you can change your past, but that's only if you look at it in a different way. So we kind of look at, we look at time in a linear way, right? So obviously that's just how it's all set up. Time is sort of sequential. If you look at time just a little bit different, you can think about it in a way that you can change your past, because if you look at today as tomorrow's past, then that means you have control over it. And it's kind of weird, but why it's important is, well, there's a lot of reasons why it's important. So if you think about kind of the idea of delayed gratification, right? So let's say if today you're struggling with a decision that you're going to make, and you know you're going to regret it, but you're going to do it anyway. So you're essentially affecting your future past right now. So today, the present is going to be your past tomorrow. So you have control over some things, over what you do and how you behave, so that you can look back on today and either feel good about it or feel bad about it. So in that sense, you can take actions today that's going to make you look back on your past in a positive light, and you're going to feel good about it. And so in a sense, you are crafting your past, because every second that goes by, it turns into your past. So everything that you do right now is crafting that past that you're going to look back on, and either look back and think you're happy that you did those things that you did, or you're going to look back on them and wish you had done things differently. So as I was listening to this, I was reminded of some, it was sort of a tactic I used to use on myself when I was kind of struggling to get healthy. There would be like everything pulling me to make a bad decision, either like skip a workout or eat something really shitty, because at the time I wanted that instant gratification. And so something that, it didn't always work, but something that always helped at least just point me in the direction of making a good decision was to say, if I don't eat this shitty food right now, my future self is going to be happy about it. Because what would happen to me, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that struggle with, you could probably apply it to a lot of things, but health is kind of an easy one to talk about. You'll make a bunch of bad decisions in the day, and then the next day you're wishing that you had made better decisions. So in a sense, the day before you're crafting your past as you're living your present. So what I used to say to myself is like, if I eat something healthy instead of this shit food that I want to eat, my future self is going to be happy, because I knew that the next day, if I did make good decisions, I would feel way better that day, because I would look back and I'd be like, man, I'm really glad I didn't fuck up. I didn't eat all that food. I don't feel all bloated now because I ate a bunch of shit food. Or if I didn't skip my workout, like my future self would be super happy that I worked out real hard the day before, because I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be kind of sore, and I'd be reminded that I made good choices the day before. I'd be like, fuck, I'm glad I did that, So, one of the ways that I was able to sort of convince myself to make those better decisions was to talk about my present self doing a favor for my future self, if that makes any sense. So you can apply that to a lot of things, like if you have an opportunity to go paint a wall or something, and you're feeling kind of lazy and you don't really want to do it, but if you did do it, and then the next day you'd feel this satisfaction that piece is there, or that spot is there. You could drive by it and you'd have that sort of delayed gratification because you made that choice today that's going to make you happy tomorrow. So I just think it's an interesting way to sort of navigate your life if you're thinking about how you're crafting your past by making the decisions that you're making today. I don't know. I find it really helpful to think of things on that level. And so these days, if I'm trying to make all these good decisions with my business and doing all this kind of stuff, or, you know, like I talk about the power list, I like doing that. And I know if I hit all 5 of my critical tasks and I get a win for the day, I know that my future self is going to be happy about it. When I open up my power list book and I see that I got a win yesterday, or remember that I got a win yesterday, that's going to make me happy. So it's just another sort of tool that you might be able to use to make better decisions today in order to, you know, create a past that you can look back on and actually be happy about, and not look back on it with so much regret. So it's not a crazy concept, but if you want to hear more about it, I would check out Renee's podcast, episode 11, on the neuro side of leadership. What is it? Neuro side of influence and leadership. Episode 11, he talks about it. The whole episode isn't about that, but just really reminded me of what I used to do. And this was a long time ago that I used to do that. And I'm kind of trying to put that back into perspective, because another thing that I had heard was, I can't remember who said it, but maybe it was Andy. And he was talking about how, you know, the state you're in now is the result of decisions you made several months ago. So the shape you're in now is the decisions you made to eat what you ate, or move or not move, you know, some 3 months ago or something like that. So in a sense, you know, this helps in a lot of ways, because you don't really get the reward until later. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's, I don't know what else to say about it, but I did write some action steps. So I'll just run through those real quick. So number 1, start building momentum. And I just did an episode about how I did that, how I do that continuously. And I'm on a really good bit of momentum right now. So I feel good talking about it, but you may not be hitting everything as much as you'd like to. And it may be really hard, you know, because one of the things I talked about in the episode, the momentum episode, was, you know, when you're in a state of not having that momentum, it's really hard to get yourself to start. But I can promise you that if you do just start just hitting something consistently, you know, you'll build it up. And so one of the ways you can make your future self happy is at least just start doing that. And then you can look back on yesterday and realize, you know, okay, you know, I started building this up. I got these tasks done. I got this and that done. And so that alone will make you feel better about the idea that you're starting to do that. So another thing, this is all very fundamental shit. Start building habits. Your whole life is based on your habits, good and bad. I mean, being in bad shape or being in good shape is all based on habits, good habits or bad habits, all of that shit. So start building habits. Check out the book Atomic Habits or Tiny Habits. These books really kind of lay out ways that you can start building habits, how you can attach habits to other habits. Like I think I've talked about it before. When I wake up in the morning, I go and I put on a cup of coffee, and that makes me want to grab my Kindle, because when I have my cup of coffee, I read my 10 pages. So I tied that habit of drinking a cup of coffee to reading, because I know that's the first thing I want when I wake up. Like all the time, I want to drink that cup of coffee. So I tied a good habit to that. So yeah, there's tons of that shit in those 2 books, Atomic Habits or Tiny Habits. But there's probably a ton of other books about habits, but building good habits and start working towards having better habits is going to make you look back on your past and feel good about it. And then the last one is just hit it every day. You know, there's something to be said about needing to rest and all that. And I'm not going to argue with that, but I think you should be doing something to move your life forward every day, 7 days a week. Like there shouldn't be, and it doesn't mean you have to like work all day, every day. But like Saturday and Sunday, if you want to take those days off or whatever your weekends or one day a week or whatever it is, that's the day is irrelevant. But like if you need a day of rest, I think you should at least be doing something. At least knock out a couple critical tasks or do a small workout, take a walk. I don't know, write a few lines if you're into writing, journaling, or doing a blog or something like that. If you're a graph writer, just draw something, do something that's going to move you forward instead of taking like whole days at a time where you don't do shit. I mean, that's my opinion. I know there's probably people that disagree with that, but for me personally, the more of those days where I don't do absolutely anything to move myself forward, I never look back on those days and feel good. And those don't even have to be about work. Like if you take the whole day off and you spend it with your family, I mean, that's moving your life forward. So I'm talking about like wasting whole days, like not doing anything that's moving you forward. I mean, your relationships, or I don't know, interpret it however you want. I mean, there's a way of looking at your life. I think it's I always forget what the core 4 thing is that Sean Whalen talks about. I think it's like your business, your body, your mind, and your relationships. I think your mind might have faith in there too. I don't remember, but those 4 things is the way I look at it: your business, your body, your mind, and your relationships. So if you're going to take a day of rest, there's no reason why you can't at least move some of those things forward with some kind of small tasks. So today's the idea is that today is tomorrow's past. So are you going to look back on it and be stoked, or are you going to be pissed? I mean, the choice is yours. All right. Good.
Appreciate each and every one of you guys who are supporting the cause and continue to spread the love. And stay up.